All right, thank you for being with us here on News Desk. If you're watching us on KTN Home, that's where we wrap up. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. But I welcome you to continue with us or join us over on KTN News, where we're continuing with the news just now. All right, and let's recap for you some news that we've just received in the last few moments. President Uhuru Kenyatta has reshuffled some principal secretaries in various state departments. 12 of them have been affected. Of course, one of the more noticeable ones that has already elicited quite a number of reactions online is Principal Secretary Nicholas Muraguri, who has been with the Ministry of Health. He has now been reassigned to lands. Why notable is because of some of what had been perceived to be conflict between him and the CS as that doctor strike unfolded for 100 days. So now PS Muraguri moved from health to lands alongside 11 other of his colleagues. We'll be giving you more details throughout the day right here on KTN News. Now, police in Kenya are announcing a major breakthrough in the war on terror with the arrest of 3 wanted suspects. Police say the first suspect, Ali Hussein Ali, alias Trusted One, was arrested in Malindi and has been involved in human smuggling and terrorism financing. He has been linked to both Al-Shabaab and ISIS, as well as Magafe human trafficking network in Libya. Inspector General of Police Joseph Boynet said the suspect was arrested on Monday in Malindi alongside Ibrahim Abba Sheikh, Mukhtar and Abdi Mohammed. They had a 2 million shillings bounty on their heads. Mombasa Regional Coordinator Nelson Marwa is set to issue a statement on this arrest. And as soon as we have him, we'll be crossing over live to Mombasa. I understand he's actually addressing the press, so let's cross over to Mombasa.
Eliminate drug barons completely from the region. Kama wewe ni drug baron, una mipango ya kuuzia vijana madrugs, wewe hauna bahati tena. Kuna drug baron hapa Ukunda, a county commissioner anaitwa Bosire. Nafikiri we have security officers here. Wapi OCS nilimwona hapa. There is a drug baron called Bosire. Imechukua miaka ngapi kupata huyu Bosire? Na akona nyumba, akona kila kitu, akona magari. Huyu ndiye transporter mkubwa wa heroin kutoka nchi jirani. Yeye ndiye analewesha vijana Ukunda, Diani mpaka Ulikoni. Kwani yeye ni Mungu? By the end of this week, tuchukue umemweka ndani. The government is determined kuhakikisha kwamba imeprotect the populations. Lakini sasa kama drug baron moja ako free kwa sababu ako na pesa, anaweza honga, si ndio? Naambiwa kwamba hata anaonekana tu humuhumu, anakunywa chai na maofficers wetu. Sasa kama anakunywa chai na officers wetu, nani atashika yeye? Na wameanza kuuza madawa ya kulevya kwa shule. Wale mtoto unapeleka shule, sasa anaanza kupeleka madawa kwa shule.
That wasn't live, but earlier Marwa addressing residents there. Now, the Ministry of Health has conducted polio risk analysis that has identified 22 out of 47 counties as being high risk of polio virus importation. In view of this, the ministry will conduct sub-national polio vaccination campaign in 22 counties between the 1st and the 5th of April. Speaking during the immunization stakeholders meeting at a Nairobi hotel today, Head of Preventive and Promotion Health Services, Dr. David Soti, said the campaign targets 4.5 million children under the age of 5 years.
As a result of detection of new cases of wild polio in Nigeria, the Horn of Africa Technical Advisory Group, held in Nairobi in September last year, recommended that a number of countries within the region, including Kenya, conduct polio vaccination campaigns aimed at boosting immunity among children under the age of 5 years, who are vulnerable to infection by wild polio virus. Following this recommendation, the Ministry of Health conducted polio risk analysis, which identified 22. Of course, you remember the initial response that we did in February was in January. Actually, we targeted 15, but now we have expanded it a bit to 22 out of the 47 counties.
Over the last 12 months, globally, there have been only 33 poliovirus cases reported. 5 in Nigeria, 16 in Pakistan, 12 in Afghanistan. That alone indicates that the risk is really contained at the moment to areas where peace and stability is lacking. And even though in Kenya,
Right, we apologize for the poor sound quality on that report. Now, keynote speakers in the two-day Lake Region Economic Bloc Health Conference have called for transparency in procurement of medical equipment and drugs in county governments. Presiding over the closure of the two-day health conference for 13 counties in the Lake Region Economic Bloc, ODM party leader Raila Odinga said the health sector needs professional and sincere leaders. KTN's Fred Moturi has the story.
Now with a smile, let's do a selfie with your neighbor, with your good neighbor. I don't have any. Do the selfie.
The NASACOM principal Raila Odinga, who considers himself #1 defender of devolution in Kenya, has decried what he calls serious procurement challenges in the devolved health sector.
The econometric analysis reveals that out-of-pocket expenditures are a deterrent to health service utilization, are significantly and positively associated with catastrophic expenditure and with household poverty.
Raila cited cost, accountability, and the disconnect between the counties and national government as the greatest challenges for the devolved health system.
The time has come for our country to bring about a complete transformation of the health sector. Luckily, healthcare is a devolved function. This creates room for new thinking away from the old mindset that has bedeviled this critical sector since independence.
The irony of that is that if we have the bulk of the doctors who are working out here, we take our patients to other regions, and we are even exporting resources actually to those regions because the patients we take, we have to go and pay there.
We are particularly passionate that we should have more clinics in the rural areas for reproductive health rights, for prenatal and postnatal care, so that our mothers cannot die giving birth.
Governors were told to appreciate specialists from the region, particularly those that have ventured into the private health sector.
We in the region, we can assure you, health being a key issue, a key area, we are doing everything and determined to ensure that health of our people are improved.
And we discussed many things that we feel must help change health in Kenya generally, but most specifically because we agreed that we must begin at home.
We should carry out a joint feasibility study on the viability of a major pharmaceutical industry in the Great Lake regions. If Africa is to rise up, then we must become producers rather than consumers. And what better place to start than in the vibrant health sector?
The Lake region was also found to be leading in the number of people who are yet to register with the NHI fund.
Time has come for Kenya to roll out a medical scheme, including health insurance, that is capable of delivering quality health care services to all our people.
Fred Moturi, KTN News, Kisii.
The South Sudan Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission has received 3 reports from the Ceasefire and Transitional Security Arrangements Monitoring Mechanism. The reports include a violation one on the burning of homes by government forces and a monitoring report as well concerning multiple locations across the Equatorian region.
There is overwhelming evidence that in large parts of western and central Equatoria, both parties are failing to comply with the permanent ceasefire and transitional security arrangements. Outbreaks of violence continue, and the report says it is not possible to determine whether the security situation is escalating, declining, or leveling. The failure to adhere to the agreement is resulting in widespread human rights abuses being perpetrated on civilians. The displacement of civilians from border areas and deeper into the country is continuing unabated. The monitoring team now recommends that there should be political dialogue to stop the fighting and to stop the impact upon civilians. Further, that local opportunities to initiate peace building and reconciliation should be identified and supported by all parties. Also, that clear channels of communication should be opened and maintained with all factions of the SPLM army. Ellen Wanjiro, KTN News.
The Ethiopian parliament has extended by 4 months a state of emergency it declared 6 months ago after almost a year of often violent anti-government demonstrations. The widely expected extension comes amid reports of continued violence and anti-government activities in some rural areas. At least 500 people were killed by security forces during the year of protest, according to New York-based Human Rights Watch group, a figure the government later echoed. The state of emergency declared on October the 9th was a reaction to protests that were especially persistent in the Oromia region. Some provisions of the state of emergency were relaxed on March 15th, 2 weeks prior to Thursday's announced extension. Arrests and searches without court orders were stopped, and restrictions on radio, television, and theatre were dropped. The White House has granted the U.S. military broader authority to carry out strikes in Somalia against al-Qaeda-linked al-Shabaab militants in the latest sign that President Donald Trump is increasing U.S. military engagement in the region. Al-Shabaab has carried out deadly bombings despite losing most of its territory to African Union peacekeepers supporting the Somali government. The group's insurgency aims to drive out the peacekeepers, topple Somalia's Western-backed government, and impose its strict version of Islam on the Horn of Africa state. The United States has a small presence in Somalia and is allowed to carry out strikes in defense of partnered forces. Last year, the Obama White House permitted the military to increase airstrikes in Somalia without always going through the high-level vetting process detailed in the 2013 rules. We thank you for staying with us here on the news desk. We are not yet done. We return after this break with more news.